Hello everybody, welcome back to Fresh Outlook. Grants, awards, scholarships, they're all part of the college application process nowadays, especially since 4 years in college in many cases can cost more than buying a home. Here to help us strategize on how to pay that big bill is our panel of experts, including Big Bill Rosenberg. That just came to me on the fly, Bill, from Drexel University. Sirot, a co-founder of College Benefits Research Group. David Slater, also a co-founder of College Benefits Research Group. Steve, I'll start with you since you're right across from me. What's the number one thing a parent can do to minimize college costs and maximize grants, awards, scholarships, loans, that kind of stuff?
Well, aside from giving their kids up for adoption, right? If you really want to help your kids, you have to be proactive. And the process is not like it used to be. So I think a lot of parents relate what they went through in their experience to what is going on today. And it's just night and day different. Tuition has risen between 5 and 9% now for going on 30 years. And so the cost is really, a huge issue, especially if you have more than one kid. So it's really about being proactive. It's finding schools that are more affordable, but also understanding how financial aid works. And so that's where we are in the process right now with our clients that are seniors. They've been getting acceptances, and many of them start to get financial aid awards. And if the numbers aren't what you thought they should be, is there anything you could do to try to go back to the school and appeal to them to reconsider the award that they've given?
And David, there actually is an appeals process if you don't like the awards you've been given by the school and by FOSFA?
Well, let's be clear. It's not that there's an awards or an appeals process that's going to be more official. The colleges go through the applications and they evaluate the students, and from a financial aid perspective, there are metrics that they use as well as for merit-based money. Once an award has been given to you, what your opportunity to do is to evaluate that award. You want to look to see historically how is the school given in the past, based on past need and based on what other people that they've published that they say that they're going to give. If you're going to have something new that the school may not know about, it could be something that's happened in the job market with the family. It could be that you have more than one kid. It could be that there are new awards or that the student has done spectacularly since. Maybe they've gotten a higher SAT or an ACT score. That's new information you can bring to the table, and when you bring that information to the table, sometimes that can influence what's going on.
Bill, why is college so expensive? The buildings have been there for 100 years in many cases. The professors have been there for 100 years in many cases. Why do college costs keep on going up, up, up?
Well, I think there's a couple of things you have to understand. Number one is that the colleges have generally been there for a long time, but there's been huge building and construction taking place on college campuses all over the country, trying to, in a sense, not just make them a better academic institution, but make them a better social institution. New gymnasiums, new kitchens, new dining halls, new athletic facilities, everything. All those things cost money, in addition to hiring more faculty and having more state-of-the-art labs. But one of the things that I would really stress is also to think about this process not just at the application stage where you get the award back, but before you even apply. Recognize that state schools are usually less expensive than private schools, but in addition to that, not to shy away from applying to any school, because ultimately even a school that might be 2 times more doesn't really matter, because you're going to fill out financial aid forms that are going to calculate what's called unmet need. And your unmet need issue is going to be what the financial aid folks package together for you. So if your family technically can only spend $7,000, it doesn't matter whether the school costs $10,000 or costs $60,000. Your unmet need portion only is going to require you to pay, if they pay 100% of unmet need, $7,000, but most are going to pay maybe 70 or 80% of unmet need. So maybe you have to stretch for another $3,000. A lot of people make the mistake and say, it can never apply to that school, it's too expensive. And I say to them, well, maybe you ought to rethink that.
That's the paradox that Bill talks about that's very, very interesting. In some cases, it might be more affordable to go to Princeton than to go to SUNY Buffalo, because Princeton has a policy, if you get into the school, we're going to find a way for you to go and afford it to go, correct?
You're exactly right, and Bill really nailed it in that, you don't just look at the sticker price of the school. if you're doing your homework, then you want to try to get a feel from all the sources that are out there how they actually distribute whatever aid they give. So there's need-based aid, and Princeton has a policy, as about 80-something schools across the country, that if you have a demonstrated need, they fill it 100% and no loans. That's a big deal, but you know what? There's 4,000 schools out there almost, and how they give money could vary greatly. There's many schools out there that no matter what your need, they don't fill it. They don't put the resources or have the resources to do it. So does that mean that if that school's expensive, you shouldn't consider that either? Not necessarily. Know where your student positions academically. What majors they're going for. Is that school trying to bring in more engineers, so they're going to allot more of their merit-based aid for those types of students, which could really then make that college more affordable than some of the others that you might have been considering?
David, is it a good idea to consider having your children emancipate before going to college, to actually have them work a year or two, let them figure out what the job market is all about, let them grow up a little bit, and let them apply on their own income rather than your income?
Okay, so the word emancipate is thrown around. I got parents who say, oh, well, if my kid could go to this other state and they could be emancipated, then they could go for in-state tuition. And unfortunately, that's not an easy situation to go through. Most parents don't understand the finality of what they actually are proposing to actually happen. It's not casually.
This kid would really have to work, really have to support himself.
You're cutting
really
him off.
have to
There
live
is
away from
nothing
home.
to do. And we have there's a company out in Colorado that reached out to us that will work with families actually about how to get through this process. It takes them about a year and a half to emancipate the kid.
Right.
And once they've been emancipated, then the kid can get possibly in-state tuition. And then they take a percentage of what they've saved them. Okay, so that's just one company and in one state. When I asked them, I said, could you do that in other states? They said, no, it is so much, there's so much regulation, and it's so difficult to just figure it out in one state. We couldn't even begin to go to other states. So the idea of emancipation is, I'll call it, it's like pie in the sky. Can you just get a free ride to go to school? Yeah, if it's a U.S. and, you know.
Or if you legitimately work, legitimately have a job. Bill, can I ask you this? There are ways already to save on college costs. You could take advanced placement classes in high school. You could utilize your community colleges close to home and commute for a year or two while you take your gen ed classes, and then perhaps transfer to a 4-year accredited university later on, get your degree from that university at about half the cost.
Well, I think there's so many things that we're not going to be able to cover in this short instance, but fellows like this that do consulting all the time are really valuable, as well as the financial aid offices at the schools that you want to apply to. What you have to realize is that most colleges and universities are building a class, they're not accepting a class. So what they're going to do is they're going to want to have certain types of students make up their entire student body. So they want the tuba player for the football halftime show, they want the dramatic singer for their plays, they want the chemistry student who's going to be really sharp and is going to maybe get all kinds of awards. They're looking for certain types of students, and once they find them, that spot is filled at that school. They only need one basketball manager on the girls' basketball team. So you need to find out by doing a lot of homework, not just applying to the school, but really finding out where your child is going to fit in. And ultimately, there's a lot of money that's out there, but it may not be just because of your financial situation. It may be because of other circumstances as well.
Steve, how do you make yourself stand out? How do you let the school know that I'm the star actor in the school plays, or I'm the star athlete, or I'm the star tuba player in the band?
A lot of that is already contained in the application process, and so that's part of it, but you also want to know, does the school have an interview policy? And that could be a big way. The recommendation letters that you get should definitely be strong to show your uniqueness, but with all the things that a student might bring to the table. And we're always working with people that say, well, you know, my student doesn't have that many APs or doesn't do a lot of volunteering, but you know what, you have to look at that student. What's their passion? What drives them? Where have they been successful? And then try to make sure you're looking at schools that care about what that student brings. It's when they're too focused on a school, saying, I want to go to, insert the name here, I don't want to pick on any one school, but they're not really thinking about how well do I fit in what they're looking for. And so when you're not looking at that, why should people be surprised that you're not getting in, or you're not getting the merit awards that you thought you should? Guess what? You're just another, kid that wants to go into sports management or business in a school that's flooded with kids from North Jersey that want to major in that. Right. So you want to make sure that there's that fit and that perspective to be proactive and position yourself right.
David, the services that you provide, are they provided via the internet? Are they in person? Tell me how someone utilizes your services. The name of your company, once again, is?
The College Benefits Research Group.
Is that the name of the website as well?
It's cbrg.info.
Okay, so when somebody accesses that website, do they simply just communicate to you online, or do they come in and meet with you, or is it a phone call? Tell me how the process works.
We usually invite students and parents to one of our foundations courses. We do free workshops all over the area, and we want all of our students and parents to start there because it is a foundation. It gives them a fruit from the beginning to the end, what's possible, what's not possible, sort of what we've been doing today for everybody here. And then we have them come, and we like to work with them in-house. On occasion, we'll do things remotely, but we have tremendous tools that we have inside our offices, and the one-to-one interaction we think is very important.
All right. Steve, David, Bill, thanks so much for your time. Folks, you can access the website online if you have more information, and as Bill Rosenberg pointed out, you can go to a fine university like Drexel University and talk to the folks in the financial aid office. When we come back, a First Lady dies and a superstar on the tennis field, well, she fails and disappoints. More on that after this.